Hello, my name is Tracy Allen and I want to welcome you to Cooking with Some Friends. Hello, welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I've got some stuff going for supper, I've got some stuff going for lunch tomorrow, so it's kind of a busy evening. But I'm going to show you a recipe for chicken and gnocchi soup. And if you haven't ever had Olive Garden's chicken and gnocchi soup, you don't know what you're missing. But I found this recipe is similar. I don't normally put nutmeg in mine, but you can if you want a little more flavor. Towards the end you can put that in, but in my pan, I'm out of breath, I was running down the steps. I have 2 tablespoons of butter that I'm melting, and I've cut up about a pound of chicken, and I cut it really thin, so about 1/2 inch thick, and I'm gonna brown this in the butter. When that's done, I'm gonna take that off the heat and set it aside, and in the same pan I'm going to go ahead and continue with my other ingredients. So my butter is melted. I'm going to go ahead and cook up my chicken. Some other things that you'll need for this recipe, you're going to need your gnocchi, of course, and you can buy that different varieties, and all it is kind of a potato pasta, but you can buy that at Walmart, Hy-Vee, wherever. You're going to need some shredded carrots, some flour, some onions, some garlic. You can use chicken bouillon, or you can use bone broth, whichever you like. You're going to need some milk, about 3½ cups, 1½ cups of heavy cream, some celery, and then some spinach that you chop up. So again, I'm going to go ahead and cook this up until it's cooked through. Then I'm going to take that off the heat, and we'll come back and show you the continued process. I've removed my cooked chicken from my pan. Now I'm going to use the same pan to saute my onion, which I've cut in really small pieces, my carrots, my celery, and my garlic in this same pan. So I'm going to saute those until the vegetables have started to become tender. And then I will be ready to whisk in my flour and make a roux and stir in my milk, my bouillon, my cream, and those things. So this mixture has to cook until those vegetables become a little bit tender, so you don't bite into a crunchy carrot or piece of celery. And that'll take it probably 3 to 5 minutes on a medium heat. So I've cooked my onions and my garlic and celery and carrots until they're beginning to get tender. So at this point I want to stir in my flour to make a roux. I just want to stir that in and let that cook for just a minute. Just to kind of avoid any flour flavor. And at this point, if you need to, you can always add just a little bit more butter. Sometimes the chicken, when you cook it, lets off enough of the juices that you don't need to. Other times it doesn't quite do that, so I'm going to put in about not quite a tablespoon more butter and let that stir in or melt in. Just make it a little richer. Okay. So now I want to stir in my 3½ cups of milk. And my 1½ cup of heavy cream. Really important that you don't let this soup come to a boil at any point. Okay, I'm going to put in my bone broth or your bouillon, whichever you want to do. It doesn't take nearly as much bone broth as it does bouillon. It's a little stronger. Ew. Made it messed on the side. You can add a little bit of pepper at this point if you want to, not salt, because a lot of your other ingredients contain salt. So I'm going to let this continue cooking for, 2 to 4 minutes until it starts to thicken up a little bit. Once this starts to thicken, I can go ahead and add my gnocchi and my spinach, and I'm going to put the lid on that. Well, I'm going to cook it first for 3 to 4 minutes with the gnocchi and the spinach. Then I'm going to put the chicken in. Then I'm going to put my lid on and let that simmer until it's heated through. And again, at that point, don't let it boil. And that it takes about 10 minutes for everything to be heated through at that point. Right now, I just want this to come up to heat so that it will start to thicken. Okay, our soup is a nice creamy texture, and it's not supposed to be a heavy soup. So at this point, I'm going to stir in my gnocchi, and you can make homemade gnocchi if you want to. That's just not on my agenda for now. So it's a 16-ounce package of gnocchi. And I'm going to put in my my spinach. That I've chopped up. And stir that in. And I want to cook this until that spinach starts to wilt. And then I'm ready to add my chicken back in and cover this and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And again, don't allow it to boil. That 10 minutes will allow the gnocchi to cook. So I'm just cooking till my spinach wilts a little bit. Chicken back in, and I did wash my bowl between the time I had raw chicken and cooked chicken in there. Stir that in. I'm going to place the lid on this and let it cook for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready to serve. And there you have chicken and gnocchi soup. Hello, welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I have a pot roast that I'm going to use up, and normally I would do this in the oven like I do any pot roast, but we have ball games tonight and we won't be home till probably 7 or after, and so it's going to be a late supper. So, and this way I can leave it unattended during the day, don't have to worry about my oven being on. So I'm going to use the slow cooker for this one, and I'm going to show you a recipe for Mississippi pot roast. And the origins of this recipe are really pretty modern. In 1990, a lady in Mississippi came up with the recipe, and so it just adds a different slant to pot roast. So I put about 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil in my Dutch oven, and I'm searing the pot roast 3 or 4 minutes on each side before I put it into my crock pot. And then I'm going to add a few things to it. So it's about ready for me to take it off the heat and transfer it to my crock pot. And I've already put a liner in my crock pot, so it's ready to go. So take that off the heat. It's splattering all over everything. So to this, I'm going to add what would be the equivalent of 1 package of ranch dressing. And I'm just going to sprinkle that over the top. And then I'm going to add a 1-ounce package of au jus mix. And sprinkle that over the entire thing. So here, just a little bit. So this will create its own gravy. You can serve this when it's done. We'll serve it over mashed potatoes, but you could put it over egg noodles or rice even. Then I'm going to take 1 stick of butter that I've cubed up, and I'm going to put that over the top. When I go to make the gravy, I'll remove this from the crock pot. You could make the gravy right in your crock pot, but I'm going to do it in a saucepan later on the stove top, just because it's easier to work with. But I will use the juices out of this. And then I'm going to put in 6 or 7 pepperoncini peppers. Maybe, if I can get them out. Just put those on top. This will add a little bit of kick to it, but not a lot. Pepper is long enough, I don't want to come out of my jar. Let's go with 1 more small one. Okay. So then I'm just ready to put the lid on it and put it on high. And this will take 7 or 8 hours. I could do this on low. Actually, it'll take 5 or 6 hours on high, on low 7 or 8. So I'm going to put mine on low because I'm going to be gone all day having lunch with my oldest son. So low for 7 to 8 hours, high 5 to 6. And then I'll show you how I'm going to do the gravy when I'm ready to come back. We're back after 7 or 8 hours of our roast cooking, and the roast is done. So I've drained the juice off that roast. I've got some potatoes and some corn cooking to go with this. So I made a slurry of 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and 3 tablespoons of water that I'm going to stir into this. I'm going to reduce my heat just a little bit. And this will make our gravy for our roast and potatoes. Make sure you use 3 tablespoons of cold water when you make your slurry. Cold water just mixes up so much better with cornstarch. And it's already thickening. Let's see now if you can see the consistency and the difference in it. So I'm gonna let that cook just a minute, and then we will be ready to serve. Thanks for joining us for this session of Cooking with Some Friends. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And find us on Facebook at Cooking with Some Friends.